What's up everybody, welcome back to yet another video of channel CodeX. In this video I'm going to show you how to work with API inside GetX. Have a look. How cool is that, right? So I'll be showing you how to work with a staggered list, how to integrate API, how to pass JSON and all those stuff, and there'll be cool tips as well. So make sure to watch full video and we're gonna start right after this intro. Welcome back once again. I'm your host Afzal, and as I told, today I'm going to integrate API inside the GetX application, and I'll demonstrate with the help of this online shopping application which I called ShopX. So let's start with the Visual Studio Code, and here we have the default Flutter project which looks something like this. You all are aware of this because you're all Flutter experts, I hope so. Okay, so first thing, I'll get rid of this my home page. So for that I have created another page which is like very easy, and I don't want to waste time in creating that thing. So it has an app bar, it has a column, it's very simple stuff. What I will do is, instead of my home page, I'll call home page, which I just created, and let me resolve it. Perfect. So this is how the newly created page looks like. It has this app bar with the back action and the cart app option, and it has this row over here. Let me just show you. So which has one text which is expanded, and it has two icon button. As simple as that. If you want to learn these things, these are very basic. Like, you should not be in this video, you should be learning something related to layout designing and basic widgets and all those stuff. I'll put card over here if you want to check that. And if you already know all these things, which I think you are because you have clicked to integrate API inside, so I assume that you already know these things. So let's get started with staggered lists. So what we want to show here is the list of product in terms of, like, we want to show that in two columns. And how we can do that? We can simply use the grid. That's one option, but I found one interesting package on the internet, on the pub.dev specifically, and that has really cool feature. You can lay out your things, list items, in very decorative way. So that's really impressive, and I'll show you the package name as well just in a moment. So let me just collapse this. So basically this is a column here, this row resides, and we want to create the list over here, which is our second element in the column. So the package which I'm using is Flutter StaggeredGridView. I'll put link in the description if you want to go ahead and check for yourself. And let me show you how that works. So I'm going to say StaggeredGridView. Now they have multiple variants. You can use count, you can use count builder, you can use even custom builder. So I'm going to go with the counter builder, like count builder. Okay. And first thing it asks is how many axis element, cross axis element you want, like how many columns you want. So I'm going to say I want 2 columns. And then they have the item builder. Item builder generally takes 2 parameters, I assume, context and index, and it is fine. And then we have to provide the staggered tile builder. Now what is tile builder? Because you want to lay out your cards in 2 columns, so you have to define how each item will look like. So that is the tile they have. Now here we can specify different option. I'll just show you in a moment. Staggered tile. Now again they have the count option, like if you want to specify the row or column size for each element, you can do that. But I want to go with the fit, like each element height I'm going to take over here and say that fit to the size of 1. Something missing. Yeah, I think, okay, it returns a function of integer. Perfect. So I can say index and then this guy. Cool. So everything is fine here, and let me just provide the single item, how it's going to look like, just for the demo's sake. And of course, we're going to start with the API as well, but we need something to show, right? And this staggered list is really staggered grid or list, whatever you call it. It's really, really good. So you should try it. It's worth giving a try, of course. So I'm going to say 100 by 100 height, width, and color of colors dot red, just to see whether it's working or not. And I'm going to give item count as well, maybe 1000 item, 1000 products are fetching. So nothing happening, we are getting some error. The reason, I think so, yeah, it's a layout issue. And why it happened? Because inside a column, I'm asking for one element, which is the row, which you have seen previously, and other element is this grid view. So it doesn't know how much space, how much size it should take. So what we have to do is simply this list view which we have, we will make it expanded. It's as simple as that. Okay, now you can see that we have this row over here and this red box. Don't worry, what I can do is provide main axis spacing, like vertically, this grid has a vertical alignment, so main axis spacing will be 16 pixel maybe. So now you can see this line in between, which is a gap actually, and cross also, let me define cross spacing also 16 pixel. Perfect. So now you can basically see all the card elements which you have designed, and you can increase the size. It will increase the card size as well, and that is happening because of this fit one. If you want to have, like, you want to define each card should take 2 columns or one card should take 1 column, like that, you can do that. But just for the demo sake, stick with this example. And if you want a detailed video on staggered grid view, I can do that as well. It's very powerful. It's very, very much, you know, you can achieve a lot of things with that. Check the images on the screen which you can create with the staggered grid view. It's really awesome. So let me know in the comment section if you want a dedicated tutorial for staggered list, and there's already tutorial out there. If you are able to understand, that's fine, otherwise I'll create just for you. So fine, we have something to start with. We have the staggered grid view or list view, whatever you call it. We have this element. Now let's go ahead and implement our model and controller part. So we have the view ready with us. Let me just clear it out and reload one more time. Perfect. So we don't have any issue. The application restarted without any issue. Everything is working fine. So what I want to do next is create a model. So let's go ahead and create a model called product dot dot. So in this file, we'll be adding our model. Now, where this model will come from, we have to integrate our API, and API is going to give a JSON response. So let me show you how it's gonna look like. So this is a makeup API which I got somewhere free on the Heroku app. Like, you can hit this API in Postman or anywhere, even if you can run on your browser, and copy entire JSON, and then you go to app.quicktype.io. I'll put link in the description. Here you can copy paste your JSON. Now what will happen, it will generate a model for you. Now this is really helpful if you're like, if you don't want to waste time creating your model yourself and you have the JSON response with you, you can easily create a model. Like, generally when API developer gives you the data, you can pass and convert into a model like this. Make sure you have the Dart language selected, and if you want for other programming language, you can do that as well. But we're working on Flutter, so Dart is good. And blindly you can copy everything from here. So I'm just going to copy everything and paste. And this has a lot of feature as well, like along with the Dart, they have given a lot of thing, other like parsing thing. So you just provide this string and it will convert to the list of product, and or if you want to convert from list of product to JSON, you can do that as well. So they have a lot of you know, auto-generated code. So make sure to utilize that. And now I'm going to go back to my application again. So now we have the model also ready with us. Now what we need, the last thing is controller, of course. So let's go ahead and create a controller. I'm going to say home, or maybe I can say product controller dot dart. Perfect. Now I'm going to import the get package, like state management of the get. So I can say get state manager. All right, and then I will create a class called product controller, which will extend, you know it's GetX controller. Sorry, it's a class, not a method. Perfect. So we have our controller now. What we need inside our controller is the items which we are going to bind to the UI. So first thing we need is the list of products. So I'm going to say product list, yes, that's correct, is equal to list of product. Now this product will come from product dot of course, and then I'm going to make it .obs, which is observable, right? So now anytime the data changes, it will automatically reflect in the UI. So that is the benefit of using GetX. You don't have to update it manually. You just assign your data, or like you're calling API to get the data, and it will update automatically. So we got the product list with us. Now what I'm going to do is, before we start with fetching API, I'm going to do the binding stuff. So I'll go to the home page again. Here I'm going to create instance of our controller. So I'll say final product controller. You can name whatever you want, and then use get.put. Now why we are using get.put? For dependency injection, like in future if you want to use, and what it will do, that it will keep your controller in the dependency. So in future if you want somewhere, you can just find it. You don't have to create again and again. Perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is wrap this staggered grid view inside OBX. So if you don't know the different uses of OBX, GetX and GetBuilder, you can simply check my tutorial. I'll put a link here or here somewhere, and there I have explained how OBX, GetX and GetBuilder works. So it's very simple. So that I'm going to use with the get. Perfect. Now it says the improper use of GetX, because whenever you use OBX or GetX, you have to use the controller inside. Otherwise it will give you this issue which you just saw. So I'm going to use this product controller, which I already have, and the count which we'll get from here. So the list of product, yeah, product list dot length. So now the error has gone, because now we are utilizing the product controller, but the product list is empty. So that's why you cannot see anything now. Now let's go ahead and do the core part of this tutorial, where we'll be fetching the data from internet with the help of HTTP, of course. So I'm going to say fetch products like this, and this will be a synchronous method. And now here we have to call HTTP client and get the data and parse it and all those stuff. So to just separate out your API calls from your business layer, what you can do is create another folder. So I'm just going to create services. Like here it can be any service, backend service, remote service or local service, anything I can put. And here I'm going to create a new file called remote services. Okay. So let's define a class. It's just a good practice to keep your things separated. So it's remote services, and here I'm going to create the actual method which will be interacting with the HTTP client and getting the data. So also we need an instance of HTTP to make a call. So for that I'm using this package over here, this HTTP package. And by the way, for get I'm using this package and 3.15 version. So let's use HTTP and make a get call. So first I will import the HTTP. So this is the HTTP package, and I will name it as HTTP. This is just a alias for easy reference. So now what I'm going to do is create a static version of the client. I'll tell you the reason in a moment. So let me just define client is equal to http.client. So it's a good practice to have your HTTP client static, because you don't want to create each time you make a call, because that way it will open the connection to the server, close the connection, and it is not a good practice. So make sure you have the client as a static client. So throughout, whenever you're calling remote service, you'll be using the same client. So that's fine. And now we are going to create a static method again. I will say, let's say void for now. I'm going to say fetch products. Again, this will be a asynchronous method. So this is the core part of our demonstration, like fetching API data from HTTP call. So I need your attention, and what I'm going to do here is very simple thing. We are going to fetch products and return to the controller. So what we're going to return, of course, list of product. Okay, this is just a detail, like you should not be thinking why I have written this in this way, why I have done in that particular way. Still we are getting issue over here because this method is marked async. It should return a future data, it cannot return a list, so we have to mark it future as well. You got the reason why I am doing it this way. Okay, so now it's all fine. It's just saying that you're not returning anything, which is again fine. So here we are returning a list of product from this method. So how we are gonna get those product? It's very simple. We are going to utilize this client over here. So I'll say client.get. Now get is the HTTP GET request. It's not a GetX package. And if you want to understand the different methods of HTTP client, like how GET works, how POST works, what are the different structure of REST, how to consume the data, how to parse JSON, how to understand JSON, and all those stuff, you have to join tomorrow's session, which is 1 hour live session where you can ask your question on Google Meet directly to me. So it's on 7th November 2020. And if you're watching in future, you can request in the comment section below, or if you're watching on 6th or 7th November, you can still enroll. Check link in the description to join 1 hour live session where I talk about REST, JSON, and all things related to API. Okay, let's get back to the tutorial where I'm going to fetch the data from the URL. And now what is this URL? So this URL I found on internet. So this is basically a REST API. Like if you're working with any backend team, they will provide you this API. You don't have to worry about that. You just copy this URL and put inside here. That's it. Now you're gonna get some information from internet, so you have to catch that information, right? So I'm going to capture that in response because this is a response from internet. And now if you check the data type, it says future of response because this is a future call. So we'll use await over here. Now we are getting a response after waiting for this data to come. Now the first thing which you have to do once you get the response is check whether it's a successful or not. And the way you can do that is very simple. You just make a check over here, response.status code equal to 200. And if you're Android developer, iOS developer, you know all this thing, how status works, what is 200, what is 500, what is 300, and all those things are very easy. But if you're new to programming, if you're just learning how to work with mobile application, these are the status code of HTTP response. Like, so when you make a REST call, it may happen that data doesn't come. It may happen that you made mistake while calling. It may happen that the server is not available. So there's a different status code for all of them. If you want to understand all those things, how different status works, again, link in the description. You have to join tomorrow's live session, which is on 7th November. And I'll be talking about all this thing in detail there. So if you're watching in future, sorry about that. You can put your request in the comment section below. So let's go ahead and check for this 200 status. If it's 200, which means success, then do this. Otherwise, just show error message, which I'm not going to do now. So I'll say show error message. Like user should be informed that there's something happened. The API was not successful. Okay, in case it's successful, what we're going to do is fetch the body of the response. So let's say the JSON string is equal to response.body. Now this is the place where you will be getting this data, like this entire JSON you will be getting inside the body, and which I'm capturing inside the JSON string. So now you have the JSON data with you. Now how to parse it to list of product? It's very easy. If you remember, when we created the product model, QuickType IO has provided with this function, so you can just use this. I'm just going to copy and paste it over here in the remote service. So I'll use product from JSON and provide your JSON string over here. It's that simple. And I can just say return product from JSON. So basically what it returns is list of products. So whatever JSON you have, it will convert to the equivalent of list of product. Because this model has been created from the same JSON, so it will pass automatically. All right, so this is in case if success happen. What in case failures? In case of failure, you can simply return null data. So you just have to make sure that you check for null value wherever you are calling from, and it's done. This is what it takes to integrate REST API inside your application. Yes, there's a different method like get, post, delete, all those things. I'm not going to go into detail of that. Now let's go ahead and call this API from our controller. So how we can do that? Let's say remote services dot fetch products. So this is not the controller fetch product, it's remote service dot fetch product, and of course it's async. So I'm going to use await and var products. So basically it will abstract how it's fetching the product, whether it's fetching from the database, whether it's fetching from the remote service. You don't have to worry about that in your controller. You just call this remote service and it will give you the data desired. Now of course you have to handle the null value. So I'm going to just make a check over here. If products not equal to null, then only assign it to the observable item. So here I'll say product list dot value is equal to products. There's a background noise going on, there's some construction going on. I don't know what they're doing, they're banging something, but that's fine. I hope my audio is clear to you guys. Now it's pretty straightforward that if it's not null, then only we are assigning the value, and now we have everything in place. Just one thing we need is to show the data which we have fetched now. Okay, so let's go to the home page. So now I'm going to copy paste some of the UI. Of course, I'm not going to create entire user interface because it's not a UI tutorial. And you can see this card above here. It's very simple, like there's a column and in there there's an image, there's a title and all those stuff. If you want to check that, I'll put link in the description for the GitHub source. You can explore yourself, you can experiment with that, and it's gonna be very easy. So let's go ahead and create a new file inside views, and I'm going to call maybe product tile. So how each product is going to look, that will define over here. And I'm going to copy paste this entire card. Now it's pretty basic. Like if you see this image above, it has a column, it has a stack for this image, it has some title, it has the price, rating and everything. It's very simple. So I'm just going to close it for now and use over here return product tile, and what it needs is a product which it's gonna show. So where this product will come from, of course, product controller dot product list and the current index element. So I'm going to say product at current index. That's it, and it should be fine now. Let's give it a rerun, and the product controller has been initialized, but the data is not shown. Why? Let's check our controller. Okay, we have this method, but we are not calling this method from anywhere. So let's go ahead and call this method. Silly mistake happens, so it's not a big deal. Being a programmer, you make a lot of mistakes and you learn from them. That's the deal. So I'm going to call fetch product, just a simple call. Now what I'm going to do is save this file and see whether the data comes or not. I cannot see any data. Why I cannot see any data? Any reason? Let me give a restart and see. How cool is that? We just fetch the data from API with just few lines of code, and you get nice staggered view as well. Now one thing which I want to show you over here, if I reload the application, you can see that the blank white space is there and then the data comes. So a lot of people has asked how to show a loading indicator when your data is coming with the help of GetX. So I'll just take a moment to show you how that works. So simply what you can do is create one variable. I'll call it isLoading. So by default I'll make it true and it will be observable, of course. So what should happen whenever you are fetching the product, isLoading should become true. So I'll call isLoading true, and you can of course use OBS in this way as well instead of assigning. And once it is done loading, you can say isLoading false. Simple, right? Now let me do one more thing over here. Because we are doing an internet call, it may happen that it throws some exception, network exception or something. So it's good idea to put inside try catch. So I'm just going to put this is loading false inside finally, and you can write catch also to handle some exception if you want, and I'm going to move this line below. So this is how it should look. Whenever you are making API call, make is loading true. Whenever you're done with that, make is loading false. Why I written in finally? Because even if something exception happens, it should show that the loading has been cancelled. Okay, and now simply to show inside the page, what you can do is wrap this staggered view, or maybe I can change a little bit implementation. So instead of calling this way, I can call return staggered view. Perfect. So now what I'm gonna do is make a check for whether it's loading or not. Okay, so if it's loading, if the loading value is true, we just have to return circular progress indicator. That's it. And of course it's looking very ugly, so make it center aligned by wrapping with center, and it's done. So whenever it's loading, you will have this, and whenever it's done loading, it should show this data. So I can say else. What just happened? Yeah. So let me give a restart again, and let's see how it behaves. You have the loading dialog and you have the data. Let me just restart once again to show you. So it has the loading dialog. It took some second to load the data, and then you have this list of products with you. That's all for this video. I hope you people enjoyed. If you want to know more about REST and JSON, make sure to check link in the description where I'll be talking on 7th November. So don't forget the date as well. If you're watching in future, just ignore it, and leave your feedback in the comment section below. Give it a like and subscribe the channel if you're new here. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.